Hello and welcome to our Term 3 virtual newsletter. I'm Steve Baskalaki, Principal of Curwin State High School, and today we've got some wonderful student achievements to share with you from a range of areas across our school. But before we get to that, I'd just like to take a moment to check in around Term 3 and some of the exciting things and important things that are already occurring or are going to occur later in the term. Hopefully all parents have received report cards, which were recently sent home, emailed home to all parents, and you'll be able to see how your child is progressing through their learning this year. I have to say that on the whole, I've been really happy and very impressed with student learning and the results at Curwin State High School. We've seen continued improvement across the last couple of years, and our students are generally achieving very, very well. With the report cards comes an opportunity to engage in three-way conversations, and that's an opportunity for you to come in with your child and meet with their teachers and discuss their learning, both to celebrate their successes but also to look for areas of further growth and improvement. Also in Term 3, this is the term when our students are in Years 8 going into Grade 9 next year and Year 10 going into Grade 11. This is the time when they're making choices around their subjects. So we do have parent evenings coming up shortly, an opportunity for parents to come in with children and actually look at the subject offerings and help them make really informed decisions. Those dates will be underneath the newsletter. And finally, it is a really important term for our Year 12s as they move through to complete the final internal assessment and start to prepare for our external exams in the ATAR pathway, and on the vocational pathway as students move to complete their certificates to make sure that they're set to graduate at the end of the year. So there is a lot going on, but as always, the support of the school staff will be there for each student to help them make the very best of this term. Now, let's take a moment to meet some of our wonderful students and talk about some of their recent achievements. Well, Term 3 has certainly started with some fantastic student achievements, and it's a real highlight for Curwin State High School has been our participation in the Creative Generation performance. This has been something we've been involved with for a very long time, but I don't recall a time where we have sent so many people away to be part of Creative Generation. I'm joined now with just two of our students who were part of a big group, Maddie Schmidt and Alice Bradbury. Welcome to talk about their experience. So, Maddie, why don't you tell me a little bit about what Creative Generation is and how did Curwin State High School's students get selected to participate?
So Creative Generation is kind of like, it's a collaboration between all the state schools in Queensland. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a little variety concert held in Brisbane to kind of showcase our abilities. Yep. So as a group, we choreographed a piece and video recorded it and sent it in as an audition piece. And through that we ended up getting chosen to go down and perform with them. Okay,
fantastic. And when you say little concert, it's actually a pretty big concert, isn't it? Where is it performed?
It was in the Brisbane Convention Centre.
Yeah, and it would have been a very full house, I imagine.
Yeah, we ended up having a full house. We sold out on the last night.
Okay, fantastic. So, Alex, how many people went away?
It was 20 or 30, yeah.
Wow.
It was a lot of people.
That's a lot of students. And what was it like to be down there and performing as part of this Night of Nights for Education Queensland Creative Arts?
It was a great opportunity. It was my first time doing it, so I've never done it. And I've heard all the girls talking about it, and it was really exciting. And when we got there, it was just this massive thing. And it was crazy, but I really loved it. It was good.
Right. Okay, what was a highlight for each of you?
My highlight was probably actually on stage. I love dancing and I love being on stage. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
My highlight was probably just seeing how talented the kids are.
Yeah.
They were incredible.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think everybody participating on the stage and behind the scenes as well, and of course the teaching staff as well that support a program like that. Well, look, Curwin State High School is really proud of both of you and every other student who participated this year in Creative Generation. It's going to be on TV, I believe, for later in the year in November. So we'll make sure we find the time and we'll advertise that link closer to it. So congratulations, that's a wonderful achievement.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
If you were lucky enough to go down to the Strand over the last week, you would have seen some incredible art as part of the Strand ephemera exhibition, and one of those pieces of incredible artwork was actually created by our own Curwin State High School students. So I'm joined today by Tiani Solomon, Jay Johan, and a wonderful art teacher, Miss Holsnagel, who are going to talk about their incredible sculpture that they created, Morelia the Storykeeper. So why don't we start with the students. Tiani, why don't you tell me about the process of actually creating this incredible piece of work?
Yeah, so in term one, all the classes, it was the junior and the senior classes, we all started with our paintings. We all planned what stories we wanted to tell. And once we all had an idea, we moved on with the rocks, started planning out like all the, like where we wanted everything and which rocks we wanted. There was different rocks, different shapes. So everyone's was unique, everyone's was different, everyone had a different story to tell, and everyone coming from different backgrounds. It was great that everyone could have like a different story to tell. So after we did all the paintings, then we painted on the rocks. I did some weaving with Miss Deb. Yes, I did some of the weaving with Miss Deb. Everyone helped and everyone contributed. It was really great. Everyone also got to know a bit about everyone. Then there was the structure of the snake.
And so for the people who maybe didn't get a chance to see it, can you just describe the sculpture?
Yeah, so the snake itself was made out of chicken wire. And what was it used with to put it all together?
So we had a steel backbone that actually was made by a local artist, Jane Hawkins. So we got her to we drew up the design and she constructed the steel, and then the students all worked together at different stages to put the exterior around the snake and to fill it.
And so for people who haven't seen it, it was about 6 meters long? Or
so it's actually sculpture. 11 meters long if we were to stretch the snake out, but it was 6 meters by the time it's wound up. So it's a very large sculpture, and we made it in 3 pieces, so we're able to transport it.
It was certainly very, very striking. And Jade, at the heart of the snake were the story stones, which I think were something that really captured people's attention and imagination. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your story stone?
Yeah, so my story stone was coming from my personal background that I don't know much about. One of my family totems is a snake, so I wanted to put that on my rock, and I didn't actually know much about it, so I had to talk to my grandfather, and we don't really talk much, so he pretty much gave me all the information I needed, and I just researched as much as I could to try and fit in all the missing information. And it was a good way of reconnecting to everything.
So that's a lovely story. And Ms. Holsdale, you must be incredibly proud of the students and the way it came together at the end.
I think we really set it out to be something that was encouraging them to investigate their own cultures and sort of like a symbol of sustainability and the preservation of culture. And so it's lovely to hear about that. The students really benefited from investigating a little bit about their connections, and they really were quite proud of the rocks they've created.
Understandably. So I guess a bit of breaking news. We have had a little bit of advice that in the People's Choice voting, although the snake wasn't the winner, we had a pretty good...
It was very close second. So there were 3 works that really were quite way ahead of all the others in the voting, and ours was the second one in there. So
that's incredible. And I think having seen it, well and truly justified. So look, congratulations. I think it brought a lot to Townsville, and a lot of people were able to go and look at that incredible piece of art and create it. And I guess we'll wait to see what is the future for Morelia and where the sculpture ends up.
Well, we've got some ideas for that. It should be appearing in Kayaf in a couple of weeks, and then we've just been chatting then about our ideas for the next ephemera.
Wow, I look forward to it. So congratulations, girls, to both of you and to your entire class at Salt Naval. It was a real highlight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So in a long list of fantastic student achievements at the start of this term, we have some students with us today to talk about the Model United Nations North Queensland event that occurred after the first week of term 3. Welcome to Sam Messer and Ella Gorston. So girls, we've talked about Model United Nations previously, and for those people who don't remember, I guess we're talking about something that was envisaged a couple of years ago, where students and teachers from 4 Townsville schools, so Kerwin High, Pimlico State High School, William Ross State High School and Heatley Secondary College attended a Model United Nations conference in Shanghai, with the idea of then bringing that back and enacting something similar in Townsville. And second year conference, how did it go?
It went really well, honestly. It was great to see the change throughout, because we did it across 2 days instead of 1 this year. It was great to see the change from the first day where everyone was a bit shy, getting used to it, and then the second day where everyone just opened up, and it was amazing. Yeah. It was really good.
And Sam, Model United Nations involve students taking the role of member nations and arguing from that perspective around some really complex topics. What were some of the topics that were discussed?
We discussed certain topics. For example, we talked about the conflict between Israel and Palestine, and climate change, and central banks and the role of COVID.
Okay. Yeah, and there was some fantastic discussion as I was walking around and looking at students. Ale, is it difficult, do you think, for the students who were taking the role of these countries to think outside their own perspective and take on the perspective of that country?
I think it's always a bit hard, especially when your mind's in one thing. Like, you've got your opinion on something, and often it is quite hard to change that opinion. But I think it was great to see how the kids they did their research, they looked at everything, and they truly were their country as such. So that was good.
And I guess the last question is a bit of a difficult one, but what do you think is what's the benefit, what's the long-term benefit for the young people involved, but more broadly for us as a society at the Townsville level and wider? What's the benefit for having young people thinking through really complex issues like that, forcing them to take alternative perspectives?
I think it just teaches people like a lot of real world skills, and it opens their minds up to not just any issue we're having in Australia, but worldwide. So it helps us to be global citizens, which I think is something that we hold a lot here at Kerwin. And I think even just like learning skills of debate and being able to publicly speak is also something like just stepping outside of your comfort zone for something small is great in the future.
They also look at negotiating skills as well, which they may not necessarily do in terms of COVID or Israel and Palestine, but it's really helpful skills to use in work.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And so look, second year in, we had the second conference. If I asked you, where do you hope to see Model United Nations in North Queensland in say a few years' time?
Oh, that one's hard. I would say just becoming, rather than just something in Townsville, something that we can include rural skills in and hopefully expand across more of Queensland.
Right. All right. Well, thank you for your your leadership around Model United Nations. I know that you've been well supported at the school by Ms Thompson, and the other schools have also been really involved in it as well. It was a wonderful thing to see, and congratulations, and I look forward to seeing where it goes in the future.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all of those students, and of course the wonderful teachers who have supported them. Today I'd like to conclude by leaving you with a resource that's been put together by the Australian Secondary Principals Association. As we see the continued impact of COVID-19 across Australia, we know that this is impacting on young people who experience the continued threat of lockdowns and seeing that what is occurring across the world. Along with leading child psychologist Dr. Michael Carr-Gregg, the Australian Secondary Principals Association have put together a resource for families and young people that talks about the impact of COVID-19 on the mental health of young people, and it's a good resource for parents and students to have a look at, to discuss, to check in, and to make sure that our young people are doing as well as possible in the current environment. The link for this resource can be found at the bottom of this video in the newsletter, and I encourage all parents to have a look at it. So thank you. I look forward to meeting as many students and parents at our upcoming information evenings and across the remainder of the term.